Hey guys, welcome back. So this video will be kind of short, but thought I'd show you the progress we've made. So we've been working on this for 3 days, and we got a lot of different parts spec'd and ordered. So you can see here, actually some of the stuff's already come in. Our gauges arrived, zip ties, and the wheel spacers. Wheel spacers look kind of janky, but they'll work. Zip ties are what you expect. Let me show you the gauges real quick. These look great. So these are our gauges. These are Max Toe brand. And we got 4 different ones. So we can see here, transmission temperature. So what I like about these is you get both. You get the analog and you get the digital readout. So I really like that. Here's our oil temperature. Goes up to 280. Let's hope that never happens. Water temperature and oil pressure. So pretty excited. Can't wait to get these in the car. So anyway, yep, those will be going in soon. We actually have our little, what do you call that? Little gauge pods that they go in. Those are ordered. They did ship. I did get some. I need to update this. They did ship today, so hopefully we'll get those soon. But we got some more parts ordered. So we got our alternator belt coming. We got some parts from McMaster. These are going to be for to hold the oil feed line. And we got our pressure sensors. Man, I see why people don't put pressure sensors on cars. It's a pain in the butt to even find the part, much less have to pay over $100 a sensor for. That's just crazy. But man, this was a lot of work. Let me show you some of the unbelievable crap it took to find these. So here they are. I think these are 150. Yeah, these are 150 psi, 1/4% accuracy, which is 2% full scale. They run on 5 volts. They output 0.5 to 4.5. They're 1/8 NPT. They're 125C. That's a lot of specs, and it's hard to find one that meets all of those specs. And then the last spec, which is one of the most important, is that they actually have it in stock. So it turns out Honeywell makes 1 billion different sensors. So here's their data sheet. We'll look at some of that in a second, but let me scroll down and just give you guys, so here's all the different combinations they offer for bar, KPA, MPA, and PSI. These are all different gauges. They're not the same. So you can tell, I mean, there's, in the KPA, they got 5 offerings, but over here in bar, they got a whole list. Same thing for PSI, some for MPA. And these are pressure ratings, but that's not the only sensors they have, because within the pressure ratings, you can get 3 different styles here. Or no, this is the PX2. But then you go to the connectors, you got A all the way through letter J of variations of that. And then here's your fitting for your threads. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, a shitload. And then over here, that's all your pressure ratings. And then whatever the hell that is, your outputs. Yeah, they got a whole different thing of outputs. So you can just imagine how many possibilities of sensors this is. I mean, that's probably 1,000 different variations or who knows what. So a giant pain to actually find a sensor that met enough of the criteria that we could use it, and they have it in stock. But we finally did. So what we ended up with, as we can see here, we have 2 sensors at 150 and 1 at 300. Now I know we'd previously said we were going to do 100, but here's why. These sensors are PSI-A, so that's an important distinction. There's pressure absolute and gauge. So absolute is your absolute pressure. So like right now, I'm breathing air at 14.7 psi, so that's 0 psi of boost, but it's still 14.7 psi absolute. And since these sensors only did 100 psi absolute, technically you can say like 100 minus 14.7, that's what fuel pressure I would have been able to measure. So it'd be like basically 85 psi. So that would have been getting it cut short a little. And same thing for oil. My oil would have maxed out at 85 psi gauge. And that sucks. I really wanted it to go 100 and possibly even a little more. And then the icing on the cake was some of the sensors that I wanted to buy at 100 weren't available. And I just thought about it and I was like, you know what, let's just get the 150s. So we did that. And then the transmission, I wanted a 300, couldn't find it. Finally managed to find it. So you can see here, we got our sensors. So the bad news is, with shipping and tax, we get set us back about $350 for those 3 sensors. That probably sounds awful, and I'm sure most people looking at this are thinking I would never spend that much money on a sensor. But let's hope, well, let's not hope for a failure, but the hope is that eventually if there's ever a problem with the car and we start losing fuel pressure, we start losing oil pressure, we start losing line pressure on the trans, that we'll actually be able to catch it and fix it before we tear up a really expensive motor due to, running lean, or blow the bottom end up from lack of oil, or fry the trans from losing line pressure. So that's the hope. This is kind of I hate that phrase cheap insurance, because this is definitely not cheap. But the hope is that, we'll have some peace of mind knowing that all this stuff is good, and if there's ever a problem, we'll be able to catch it and potentially save ourselves some downtime and some cash. Moving on, we ordered that little brake hose that goes on the firewall. I just don't have mine, so I bought it. We're going to do custom spark plug wires. So I ordered all the stuff for that. It's $160. There will be a future video where I am going to figure out and then show you guys how I build spark plug wires. So I built some, it was like 6 or 7 years, or I don't know. I hate to say, I think it was 7 years ago. I built the wires that are on my car. That's crazy. So I guess they're old. Maybe I've changed them once. But anyway, they're basically, I bought Mazda stock wires and had to modify them and put HEI connectors on them. But those would be too short for this build. So I bought some 01 Miata, the little tubes that go on. And then I ordered some big fat spark plug wire and connectors and boots and all this other stuff and pliers to crimp it. So that's the plan. We're going to build some custom spark plug wires. And that means we're also going to move the coils. So they've been sitting on the top of the motor. And I don't know why I thought that was a good idea, but we're changing that. I don't like it. Those are going to go probably in the cabin somewhere to get them away from the heat of the engine bay and move that weight. Those coils are actually, they probably weigh like 10 pounds. It's crazy. So we're going to move that weight further back and get it out of the engine bay, put it in the cabin so it doesn't see the heat and vibration that it would see being on top of the engine physically bolted to it, right next to the turbo to boot. So that's awesome. Definitely be showing you guys that. And then we ordered some metal to do the steering rack. So like we talked about, we're thinking about deleting the power steering. And I got to weld some pinion thing. I really don't know the details of it, but I ordered some filler rod to be able to do that. So that's on the way. And that's about it for where we're at. The stuff at the bottom, I still got a few things to figure out for painting. I'm kind of looking into some options. If you guys have any recommendations, please let me know. I'm not a good painter. I don't even have a good eye for that kind of stuff, but I want it to look nice. I'd like to paint like the valve cover really nice, and then I'd like to paint the intake manifold, the charge pipes, and kind of just clean it up, make it look good, and maybe paint some other stuff just to like not be ugly, paint stuff black, that kind of thing. But I'm looking into it. If you guys got some suggestions, feel free to throw them out there. And that's about it on here. The coils at the bottom, we're going to wait. I can use the coils I have. So I think I kind of want to see if there's anything wrong with these coils or if it's actually just my spark plug wires. Because I used to be able to run a larger spark gap than I can now. So I'm thinking maybe the plug wires are just old. So we're going to build these new wires, relocate the coils, build a new bracket. I'll show you all that. And we'll see how this does, and then we'll replace the coils and see how the new coils do. But that also gives me some time to save up money, because as you can tell, I've been lighting money on fire, and I gotta slow down for a little while. Anyway, that's where we're at, guys. Y'all take it easy.